Jason Aaron, Erica D'Urso, and Ed McGuinness take us into the final acts of Heroes Reborn as Power Princess's lust for battle puts her on a path towards a strange, blonde-haired drunkard who seemingly has control over the thunder and weather and somehow has found himself on the dead realm of Asgard. Jason Aaron finally gets round to writing his Wonder Woman and Thor stand-in to great effect, ending with an issue that probably has the most ties into the larger alternate timeline story as the plot hinges on Power Princess battling the returned Thor. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing Aaron going over a lot of the stuff he actually wrote for Thor over the last 10 or so years, from Gore the God Butcher and the God Bomb, the Necro Sword, and the War of the Realms. This could also be seen as a type of continuation for his run as well, seeing a lot of the back part of the issue is about Thor regaining his memory of who he was, knowing that he should have been doing all of the deeds that Zada had done, and him having to deal with that, and that feeling of rage that takes over him and wants to be let out on the people responsible for changing his life and history. Jason also continues doing more of the excellent world building with a DC slant to it, and like I said before, since this is Thor related or Thor adjacent, he's already been in that wheelhouse for so long, so it just kind of all falls into place wonderfully and makes perfect sense. Erica D'Urso tackled Power Princess's throwdown with Orgog and Thor, wonderfully capturing the violence and savage nature of a warrior princess. The battle she depicted with Orgog at the beginning of the issue was a great, bloody and bright mess, and I just loved every minute of it. Heroes Reborn issue 6 was another fantastic world building issue that had a little bit more to do with the actual alternate reality taking over plot than the previous issues had, being that this was the penultimate issue, but it never forgot to do some really fun stuff with an alternate take on Thor's history with a DC Comics slant to it. I'm going to give this issue a 9.5 out of 10. Heroes Reborn issue 6 finds Orgog battling Power Princess, telling her how the Asgardians and other gods tasted as he picks her up and tries to eat her, but he spits her out, saying that she tasted soft and sweet, like he figured a princess would taste, knowing he's eaten plenty of them in the past. Power Princess says that she promises him and his eons of feasting that he's never known a princess like her. Power Princess knows she comes from a race that could drink anyone under the table, and no matter who in the heavens you were after you were defeated, she would smash the drinking table over your head or smash the table with your body. She knows that she misses her sisters and Utopia Isle as she confronts Orgog, calling him the ugliest of fools. The villain knows that's bold words for someone he almost swallowed, as Power Princess knows she seems to have left something in his stomach, ripping her missing gauntlet from his stomach, saying that it was forged from Utopian Uru and bound to her soul with astral chains. Putting the gauntlet back on, she tells Orgog to gather up his entrails since she wants him on his feet when she kills him. She knows her gauntlets weren't just forged out of Uru, but they knew the secret of turning people to stone, which she has done to many of her villains like Null, Janet Van Dyne, Tigra, and many more, all who she puts in her statue garden around the Citadel on Liberty Island, inside the Statue of Liberty. Zada knows the one thing her and Lady Liberty have in common is they're up to their eyeballs in wine as she goes into her cellar, telling her magical mirror Perry that she is dry and she is bored since it's been an hour since she spilled some blood. She tells the mirror to fill up her cup and make it interesting this time, so she plunges her hand into the Siege Perilous, pulling it out with some new type of drink for her to try, asking the mirror who is the fiercest wench of the land. The mirror knows that she is as she heads down to her apartment, knowing that she is so bored, thinking she might call up Hyperion, knowing a sultry whisper will bring him to her door. But it might turn into another one of those nights where he drones on about the children and American history, two things she finds useless, and it makes her miss the old days. She remembers fighting Nazis with Namor, knowing that he was quite the man, and there's nothing like making love at the bottom of the ocean as the sharks feed on the Nazis you just tore apart. She thinks maybe a good war is what she needs, thinking about sparking a second civil war between Hyperion and Nighthawk, since all it would take is one word, or maybe even starting a War of the Realms, if there are any realms left over, that is. Suddenly she hears some lightning, learning from the mirror that everyone on the eastern seaboard could have heard that. Zada knows that that wasn't it, telling the stone Hercules to awaken from his slumber. She interrogates the Prince of Power, asking what he hears as the thunder cracks again overhead, and Hercules just begins laughing as Zada turns him back to stone. Zada knows that it's not some mere thunder rattling the heavens, it's the cries of a god. Digging through her weapons chest, she knows Allgog coming back now is no coincidence, since there was a restless ghost stirring somewhere and she needs to know where to begin her search, knowing she needs to begin where the Ragnarok Wars begun. Using the Rainbow Axe, Power Princess heads to the destroyed Asgard, knowing it all seems like it was the last time she was there. Suddenly something speeds by her as she notices a man nearby. The man is Thor, and he isn't certain of who he is, only knowing he's sober and he doesn't like it one bit. Zada thinks that he's the cause of this thunderstorm, but Thor says it's not the storm that's unnatural, it's everything else, and he finally is beginning to remember who he is, and how the world has forgotten itself or been disappeared. He notices Zada's Bifrost axe, demanding to know how she got it. Power Princess is happy he's not peaceful, throwing the axe at him, but it is battered away by something as Zada wonders if this man could be Asgardian. Thor wonders what has become of the Bifrost, noting how it is now trapped in the axe. Zada believes him to be the god of thunder, as Thor demands to know what happened to Asgard, as all its golden halls are gone, and not even Valhalla remains. Zada tells him that she didn't kill them all, and all she did is stand by and watch them slaughter each other one by one. Power Princess stabs Thor with the No Blade, an invisible blade, shocking the man as she tells him that the gods waged war on themselves and that the few who survived were killed by Allgog. She can smell his booze-soaked blood, wondering if spilling all of it will get her drunk. As she tells him how Asgard finally came to an end, Thor screams a hurricane at her, making Zada realize that her statue garden is too good for this god, as she tells him that she lost her people, yet she isn't whining about it so loud she shakes the stars. She begins to wonder what the blur that keeps zipping around the man is, since even her super eyes can't keep up with it. Power Princess tells Thor that instead of whining, she found a new home and one worth fighting for, and the reason no one missed the gods is because of her. She smashes the man in the face, remembering all her battles and how she earned the right to be worshipped, so the Asgardian must kneel to her and pray. The blow, however, smashes into her face as Thor catches Mjolnir, remembering the hammer as he is turned back into his heroic self, remembering exactly who he is. Zada demands the Asgardian stop talking and show her who he is with punches instead. Thor, however, teleports away, saying that he remembers everything, including the Avengers. Zada's punch lands in the crater that Thor's exit creates, so later she fills Nighthawk and Hyperion and the rest of the squadron in on what happened. Nighthawk knows that Thor is a forgotten Norse myth who was banished to Earth and never heard from again. Zada knows that he is indeed real, and she punched him so hard his beard came off, and it was a punch that would shatter the Hulk. Hyperion knows that they will find him and put him in the negative zone, but Zada knows they have no leagues except his last words, wondering if anyone on the team have ever heard of the Avengers. Eons before, in the age of Vikings, the very young Zada and her mother's forces invade Iceland as the drunken Thor watches on from nearby, knowing he's beginning to remember all the lives that passed before him in a haze. In 1945, he watches Power Princess celebrating the death of Hitler with US soldiers, knowing wars ravaged the land and heroes were called to arms, all while he held a drinking horn that never seemed to run dry. In the recent present, Thor lays shaking on a tavern floor as he feels the God Bomb, as far away a Power Princess battles Gorr the God Butcher, stopping All Black the Necro Sword in its tracks with her hand, knowing it's not the villain's weapon anymore. Using the power, she kills Gorr, as Thor knows defeating Gorr and the God Bomb was meant to be his battle, but instead he's whimpering in a tavern, while 3 different Zadas from 3 different timelines have saved the heavens. Thor now, however, resists drowning himself in mead as he tastes the storm around him, feeling the pain and raging Uru, all of which he'll rain down on his enemies that have stolen his life. He begins to taste fire as well as Echo comes to see Thor, knowing that the world isn't exactly how he remembers it, introducing herself as the Phoenix, saying her and her friends can help him with that.